Oh, tēnā koutou katoa. Haora ki te mauka, wai kirikiri te awa, nai tau TV, Ngāti Muki te hapu ko Pari Hunt ahau. Kia ora, my name's Pari Hunt. I'm the Whanau Ora Navigator Coordinator for Te Pūteitanga o Te Waipounam. Kath talks about public speaking. I don't like it, but I've got to do it. Yesterday I was talking to my mate and he says, just imagine the audience naked. And I looked down the back and saw two of my bros. I says, fuck this, I'm winging it. So I feel very privileged standing here before you today speaking to you about our incredible Whanau Ora Navigators, what they do and how they do it. How did I get here? Not a very long story, but an interesting one, I guess. I come from a diverse career background. Started off in prisons for 13 years. Kia ora, Eugene, I remember you, bro. Left prisons and ended up working for the UN for a year as a manager in prisons over in East Timor. Come back to New Zealand, worked as an intelligence analyst, had a guts full of all the politics that come with working in government departments, and went and become a deep sea diver. Come back home, and my wife said, I've had a guts full of you travelling away, and she says, you need to stay home, find a real job. So I struggled to think what it was that I wanted to do. I never really knew what I wanted to do, but I did have one thing in mind. I wanted to work with our people. I'm the son of a trade trainee. My dad went to Rehua Hostel. My mum was brought out at Taumutu, Ngāti Muki. She's Ngāi Tahu, I'm Ngāi Tahu. Dad's from Taranaki. And we grew up around Rehua Marae. So essentially, and many of you will know Uncle Terry. He was responsible for teaching me my first Maori song, and he was the pastoral care officer for my father and many men after him. So I got to see firsthand the best pastoral care that the South Island, well, the whole of New Zealand can give, the world can give. So I believe I have good grounding with that. Anyway, I applied for a job through He Wakatapu. I rang a mate of mine, Daryl Gregory, who was, when I last saw him, he was working out of the boot of his car at Paparua prison. And I think now there's about 80 people working at He Wakatapu, is that right? Yeah, I'll get the thumbs up there. Yeah. So I ended up working in this Whanau Ora space as a Whanau Ora Navigator. And there was some confusion as to what that meant when I first started in there, and I was lucky enough to have Whaia Tariana come and stay with us, and she gave me the heads up as to what Whanau Ora navigation meant. So I got it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and jumped in there and went hard. What I didn't realise was that when I was working in the prison, I was taught by old school prison officers, and the answer for most things was no. But I didn't see where those people had come from. Working in the Whanau Ora Navigator space, I got to see that, and it made me very pouty, me sad. So I became a bit of a scrapper, a bit of a fighter for whānau. And when I get alongside whānau, if we're working together, then we become a team. And when I'm in a team, I don't like losing. So when I come up against government departments and they say no, I say no back. And then I work my way to the yes. So essentially that's how I worked within He Wakatapu, was doing long hours. Wasn't too worried about not getting paid for those hours. I just thought that whānau deserved better than what they were getting. And then, essentially, it led me here to work as the Whanau Ora Navigator for Te Waipounamu, for Te Pūtaitango Te Waipounamu. So that's me. As Trevor Taylor said yesterday, Whanau Ora Navigators are spread far and wide throughout Te Waipounamu. We're located from Te Tauihu down to Murihiku and across from Otatahi to Te Taipōtini. So we have 54 navigators all up. We have 50 FTEs. So we have a couple of 0.2s and 0.5s here and there. Here's the mischief bunch. We have about here. A happy looking bunch, aren't they? So this was taken on Tuesday. So Monday and Tuesday of this week we have our annual Navigator Hui. It's a hard ask speaking right at the end of the day. You're all tired and buggered, but don't go away. Have I got a surprise for you at the end of this? So what are these guys like? Well, I've compared them to working with a bunch of naughty cousins. How do you manage them? It's sort of like rounding up 50 six-legged cats. It's tough. But we're very short on the ground with men. We've got about 10 men that work out of 54. We need some more men in the Whanau Ora navigation space. They say that behind every good man, there's a great woman. I'm lucky enough to have 44 of them. The one, don't start crying yet, Serena. Yeah. The benefit of working in this space is that I get to work with Serena. She's my manukura. I really totally support 100% the balance, with Wahine and Tāne working together. It provides a good balance, and we work together really well. I certainly don't see her as my subordinate. We work side by side, and we're sort of like big brother, little sister sort of type of relationship. But we get stuff done, and she comes from a background of working in the meatworks and shearings, and so she's always me bum telling me to bloody get things finished, and I'm coming up with wonderful ideas before I've even finished the last idea. So it's wonderful having that balance. We've come such a long way from the 7 navigators we had in 2014 to 50 FTEs today. Trevor acknowledged Lorraine Eads' contribution to making this happen. This obviously wasn't done without the support from other members of the GPL, Te Taumata, and of course our hard-working Pauarahi Helen Lay. The implementation of 43 more FTEs since 2014 has been a game changer for Te Pūtaitango Te Waipounamu. It was a huge shift and contributed to making a significant impact for many whānau throughout Te Waipounamu. Mediocrity is not something we as navigators accept lightly. So I believe this substantial shift was a great example of implementing support according to whānau need. However, it's important to note that many of the current whānau ora agencies that accommodate the Whanau Ora Navigators throughout Te Waipounamu are currently at capacity. And in some cases, whānau are placed on waiting lists. Not good. Something that leaves bad taste in our mouths as Whanau Ora Navigators, as we pride ourselves on our efficiency, our effectiveness, and strive to support whānau in a timely manner. This speaks volumes in regard to the value that whānau place on Whanau Ora Navigators, and also signifies the increasing awareness by whānau that the Whanau Ora approach is a better fit for them. We need more Whanau Ora Navigators. People often ask what Whanau Ora Navigators do. It's sometimes easier to explain what we don't do. Our scope is very broad, but it can also be very specific. One thing you can be sure of is that Whanau Ora Navigators will always place whānau at the centre of the decision-making process. Whanau Ora Navigators work closely with whānau to identify their specific needs, dreams, goals and aspirations, then assist by identifying the services, education providers, employment and business opportunities, and also providing connection back to te ao Māori. The one thing that I have noticed, the theme that I've noticed during the course of this week, and with whānau ora as a whole, is that importance of connectedness. Without that, we're buggered. It's important with any interaction with whānau that trust and rapport is built and maintained, i.e. whakawhanaungatanga. Developing a side-by-side relationship with the whānau encourages whānau to persevere. Regular reflection also encourages positive outcomes for whānau. Oh, it's a bit fuzzy, eh? Arua mai. Plans. All engagements are followed up by a robust plan. However, when we go to visit whānau, I encourage our Whanau Ora Navigators not to turn up with a pad and a pen under your arm or a computer. You know, remember, when we go to visit whānau, remember who we are. We're manuhiri. So our first visit, we won't take a pad and a computer, we'll take a packet of biscuits and a smile. And we make that connection. However, all engagements are followed up by a robust plan. Navigators in the South Island use path planning. PATH stands for Planning Alternative Tomorrows with Hope. Path planning starts by looking at the future and then works backwards to identify the first steps as a starting point for some who are interested. First steps towards the life that whānau want. The aim of whānau planning is centred on supporting whānau to develop a plan that sets out aspirational goals beyond their immediate needs. The plan is seen as a starting point for some who are interested in a broader view to address issues and achieve goals. Plans are also seen as useful change tools for whānau containing actions as a pathway for achieving goals. This plan is a living and evolving plan, so it can change as we move with the whānau. Common goals identified in plans include financial planning, stability, connections to whānau and mokopuna, building on cultural knowledge, healthy lifestyles, greater confidence in developing effective parenting, engaging in community life, coping with grief and loss, saving, amongst others. You name it, we do it. So there's so many aspects of that wahine's journey where the Whanau Ora Navigator had some sort of impact on her life. And my favourite bit is when Kylie Jane says, "Lift your arms up, give us a look." You know, I mean, that's not, you know, in the government department or social service, you wouldn't be saying that, eh? But, you know, that speaks volumes about the trust and rapport that wahine has with the Whanau Ora Navigator. Now, is this, I mean, this is normal for us as navigators. She's not anything special. We see this every day. Every one of our navigators see it every day. So, take my hat off to that wahine. Moving on. The positive impact from Whanau Ora Navigators on whānau has not gone unnoticed by many government agencies and NGOs who have been approached by the New Zealand Police, schools, district health boards, prisons and tertiary providers. We're always keen to provide support and to assist the allocation and employment of Whanau Ora Navigators. However, the expectation for most of these organisations is that we provide the funding to enable this. Ironic, considering that the combined budget for these departments are hundreds of millions of dollars more than what is currently allocated to us, Te Pūtei o Te Waipounamu. There have been occasions where some of these departments have co-invested and the outcome has been extremely positive. This is one of them. It's one of our Whanau Ora Navigator up here, beautiful Mamairoa Ngata Stevens. Yeah. I've lost my place now, you're throwing me off. Oranga Tamariki is one of these government departments and is currently piloting the Whanau Ora approach on the east side of Christchurch. This pilot was initiated through a trilateral partnership between Te Pūtaetanga, Ngaitahu and Oranga Tamariki. Although the pilot is still in its early stages, the feedback from the community in Whanau is positive, and some significant milestones have been achieved through the support Mamaroa provides to Whanau on the east side. The main kaupapa is that of connectedness. We talked about that before, eh? All three of these organisations identified the need for connection and have engaged the Whanau Ora approach to ensure that every child that we engage with is provided access to their whakapapa and to do everything that we can to place children in a safe and nurturing environment, preferably in the care of their whānau. We will do everything we can to avoid Maori children being placed in stranger care and look to the whānau, hapu and iwi before doing anything else. So, kia ora oranga tamariki, ngai tau. In December 2018, Minister Pene Henare stated that the biggest outcome I'd like to see is Whanau Ora and government programs really working together. This morning we heard Nanaia Mahuta talking about co-investment, what was it? Co-design, thank you. Talked about co-design. We had a crack at co-designing something about 150 years ago. Look, wouldn't we all like to see this? However, it's not going to be a walk in the park. There are a number of issues that will need to be considered, and breaking entrenched views within government departments is a huge ask. I thought long and hard about how government departments engage with our people, engage with mana whenua, tangata whenua Māori. And it took me back to something that my uncle, who was in the Special Forces, spoke to me about a few years back, and how Native Americans were taken from the reserves and they were conscripted into the military. You know what conscripted means? Yeah, you're made to go into the military whether you like it or not. So before I start, I'd just like to acknowledge the photo here of Second Lieutenant Billy Bob Walkabout from the Cherokee Nation. He was known by my uncle, who was in the SAS, and the most decorated Native American in the Vietnam War. Not unlike our own Willie Apiata, also a hunter, gatherer, and follower of kaupapa Māori. So I'm going to talk about the correlation between Māori and the Native Americans. During the Vietnam War, the military had sent undercover experts to comb Native American reservations looking for talented scouts, for tough young men, trained to move stealthily through rough terrain. They were especially looking for men with outstanding, almost supernatural tracking abilities. Before being approached, these carefully selected men were extensively documented as experts in tracking and survival. Sounds familiar, eh? We had the same sort of thing happen in Vietnam with the grey ghosts. Once conscripted, an amazing thing happened. Whatever talents and skills they had possessed on the reservation, seemed to mysteriously disappear when entered into service, as recruit after recruit failed to perform as expected in the field. Serious casualties and failures of performance led the government to contract expensive testing of these recruits, and this was what was found. When questioned about their failure to perform as expected, you're listening to the language here, that the failure is being placed on these men here. The older recruits replied consistently that when they received their required military haircuts, they could no longer sense the enemy. They could no longer access a sixth sense. Their intuition no longer was reliable. They couldn't read subtle signs as well or access subtle extrasensory information. Research has since been conducted, and this occurrence has proven there is some truth to the fact that hair is an extension of the nervous system. It can be correctly seen, exteriorized nerves, a type of highly evolved feelers or antennae, if you like, that transmit vast amounts of important information to the brainstem, the limbic system, and the neocortex. So what? What's the relevance? In the Maori world, we call this ihi. The words wairua and mana also come to mind. You know, we heard Nanaia talking this morning about how can you write love? You know, how can you write aroha, you know, in a government document? This is what I'm talking about. When we work with whānau, we draw on all of those things that we are connected to as Māori. Why is it that this in the so-called modern world within which we live, the values, the beliefs and the principles of the people of the land are not awarded with the same attention as their counterparts? Why is science required to evidence the fact that Indigenous people's beliefs also hold some weight when dealing with day-to-day life? The Whanau Ora review and the feedback clearly indicate that the Whanau Ora approach is working and it's successful. How will the partnership or collaboration of government departments impact on this success? What will it look like? Over the last 4 days, I've sat and talked to navigators, and it never ceases to amaze me how intuitive Whanau Ora navigators are. The longer some of our navigators spend in the role, the more intuitive they become. This is also strengthened by supportive managers and collaborating with other like-minded navigators. What effect will government department constructs have on our navigators? Will we get our wings clipped and peck around on the ground with the turkeys? Or will we be able to spread our wings and soar like a toro, albatross? A lot of work will need to be done for us to work together with government agencies. I hope the collaboration allows us to continue to grow our hair, so to speak, and soar like an albatross. It's important, I believe, to take us as we are or not at all. I'm told I've only got 30 minutes, so I'm sort of trying to condense the 1 hour presentation into 30 minutes, so bear with me. One of the significant things from the IHI research in 2017 was the necessity to train our navigators. So our navigation team have been working our hardest to fill the kite of our navigators. We're involved in supporting Whanau Ora navigators in obtaining Whanau Ora certificates and diplomas. We're working with traditional healers and wairuatanga. We've implemented learning circles. We have themed quarterly hui. We have hui where we have a sharing of tacit learning skills, digital storytelling, motivational interviewing speakers, among a few things that we provide our navigators. These are the common themes we see as being valuable working as a Whanau Ora navigator. We all know the tangas. We know them. And this is what our navigators use on a day-to-day basis. The attributes of a Whanau Ora navigator: empathy, having good networks, being involved in our Māoritanga, skill building, self-reflection, knowing our ground, knowing what we're going into, understanding our environment, being resilient, innovative, creative, having a passion for working with whānau, being a good problem solver, being a good listener, And more importantly, I think, is having a great sense of humour. I think I'm being given the hurry up here, so I'll push on. These are some of the impacts and outcomes for whānau. You saw most of these in the digital story I showed you. Sorry about the ugly model. That's all I had to work with at the time. But, we created a platform for navigators. It's almost like a Facebook that is specifically used for navigators by navigators. It's a private space. A month ago, we won an international award of about 800, I think. And I think it's really apt that we won the Nurturing Workplace Culture Award. This is the platform that we're working with, Tātai Whetū. Our navigators can jump online here. We can share ideas. We have a library where we can download resources. We can talk to other navigators, tell them how much of a shit day we've had. There's, everything to do with Whanau Ora Navigators. We have a new reporting framework, Tini Whetū. We used to have clunky old Excel workbooks. We now have an automated system where we're still ironing out a few wrinkles. It's an electronic system where whānau themselves can input the goals on the tablets provided. So we don't have to input. So we get the voice, we get the message straight from whānau. They can create their own goals. And most of the goals are a 6-step process. If whānau can't find their goals, we can customise them. When we get a threshold of perhaps 2 or more, we'll create a 6-step process so that goal will be there in the next quarter. Without any further ado, that's me. We've got a little bit of a treat for you. Whilst we had our whānau hui on Monday and Tuesday, our navigators got together and we wrote a song. And it was done collaboratively with with the help of some of the more skilled navigators. And our navigators are going to come to the front and share this song with you. Here are the words. Feel free to jump in and sing along. Haere mai. So I'd just like to end that. 2 nights they smashed that out. An awesome job, eh? So I'd just like to end my address to you by saying if we do what we've always done, we'll get what we've always got. So I want you to think about, the government co-designing with us. I think it's important that they listen to us this time. But please stand and give our wonderful navigators a round of applause for all the mahi that they've done.